and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Slop channel. It has been a pretty long time since we've watched anything Warhammer related, and I thought we would rectify that today by watching some Wes Hammer videos. And of course, it would not be a gorgeous Warhammer related video if we didn't have the equally as gorgeous Tia Singer to join us, who so far has been with us for almost every single Warhammer reactionary we've done, so we thought we'd keep that trend going. Isn't that right, Tia?
Oh, yeah, I've got a problem, and that problem is I don't have enough Warhammer.
Nothing says existential crisis inducing than being reminded that you've spent way too much money on Warhammer, and now you're so deep you can't get out.
We're not going to talk about the pile of shame. Not today.
No. So specifically, our first video that we're going to be checking out is Wes Hammer's video on the top 10 most apocalyptic apocalypses within the Warhammer universe, because we all enjoy a little bit of self-realization that everything in the Warhammer universe is speculatively designed off of our real world. Alright guys, so when we get into Warhammer content, we all know that it's going to be dark and gritty and abysmal, unless it involves orcs, in which case it's going to be goofy and funny. But for today's video, we are checking out the 10 worst apocalypses in the Warhammer 40K lore. And since I started watching this stuff with Tia, back when I first started watching this stuff with Tia, I had very little understanding of the Warhammer universe. But now I hear references and certain points in the Warhammer universe, and I'm like, I get that reference. You know, Leonardo DiCaprio meme kind of thing. Ooh, I get that kind of thing. And are you proud of me, Tia? Are you proud that I know this stuff now?
I mean, proud's one word for it. That was valuable real estate in your brain that could have been put towards something useful, and now it's full of Warhammer like me. And
well, I mean, it's got to be full of something, and there's already enough real estate taken up by you, so you know I'm allowed to have some kind of brain. I mean, it's better to be taken up by Warhammer than skibbity fucking toilet at this point. Anything I can do to shut that from my mind is a godsend.
I guess that's fair.
All right, so here we go. We're going to try and do our best to not pause champ too much, but knowing us, we're going to get way too distracted talking about the intricacy of things. So, take it away, Wes Hammer.
The grimdark future of Warhammer 40K
is it loud enough,
full of terrifying apocalyptic
plenty loud.
events.
Don't worry.
Some
I can
of them
still
were
adjust it all on my
confined to a
side.
single planet, whereas others wiped out entire sectors. Some of these were accidents caused by people with the best of intentions, whereas others were unleashed by horrors beyond human comprehension. Hell.
So, I do have a question actually right off the bat. I wonder how many of these apocalypses, and you know, like the whole spectrum of the Warhammer universe, it's very galactic scale kind of thing.
Yeah.
Part of me wonders how many of these were designed by the origins of the Warhammer story writing team. Because, like, I know a lot of these are very much based in the, like, precepts of the Warhammer universe, and a lot of them were designed as, like, a diegetic way of setting up the universe. But I wonder how many of these have been added post base story as a way to just add more, not filler, but like more stuff to the universe kind of thing.
Excellent question, considering, for context, one of the big late editions that is super famous for Warhammer is the Horus Heresy, and that was just to give them an excuse to write Titans in and to bring literally the Legio Titanica game to tabletop.
I suppose that's the differentiation, like how much of these horror stories are going to be pertinent to the plot of the actual archetype of the factions versus what's galactically pertinent just as a whole.
It's one of those instances of, is the plot relevant? Yes, maybe we can make it work. If it isn't, then it's just be as batshit as possible, typically.
You know, I honestly think if you go to the Warhammer HQ and you asked, like, if you asked 10 people at the Warhammer HQ, what's the story of Warhammer? They'll all give you different responses. And I think these kind of stories are kind of the reason why.
Yeah, it depends on how long you've been playing and what you remember, honestly.
Exactly. Being so generational at this point, nobody knows anymore. Anyway.
Some apocalypses were caused by the Imperium on purpose in order to cover up other apocalypses.
The one that I saw that was
true.
Yeah, the one that I remember about this most recently was a certain human planet where they were getting invaded by the Tyranids. So they lured in the orcs to fight the Tyranids, thinking, oh yeah, they'll cancel each other out. No, the orcs ended up getting such a good fight. They ended up getting stronger from it and adapting their tactics. And the Tyranids ended up getting so much more biomass, they became stronger from it. And then the Imperial Guards are sat over there like, oh no, what have we done?
That one happened. One of the more famous ones usually is that time the Inquisition got into a punch up with the Space Wolves and lost.
Space Wolves are funny.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a video.
It's
we can
funny
watch on
whenever
those
the
at
Grey
some
Knights
point.
come out.
In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 apocalyptic events from the entirety of Warhammer 40K's history. We're going to be talking about a strange alien device that was discovered in one of the most creepy areas of the galaxy.
Oh, I love the art style for the Warhammer
plague
stuff.
of sentient nightmares.
It's
and
so all-encompassing as well.
apocalyptic war against the Imperium's first
Yes.
major enemy. One that appeared only 40 years into their journey
very,
and almost destroyed the
Geiger.
Imperium before it had even really gotten started. We're also going to be talking about an apocalypse that lasted for millions of years. A war waged with weapons designed to kill gods.
And I suppose that's kind of the thing, right? Like, most people in the Warhammer universe, they only really focus on the hyperbolic moments of, like, inter-faction warfare. And then you realize the scope of everything is so astronomically huge that you're never going to really understand all of it. And whether any of it's relevant to what's happening to the factions at the time is sort of the big question as well, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
A war that may have actually been a lot bigger than we were previously led to believe. We're going to be getting into all that and a whole lot more in this video. But if you've watched a lot of my content in the past, you might notice that a lot of these topics we've covered in more depth in some of my deep dive videos. So for those entries that appear on this list,
Honestly, kind of
I've
compelling thing
abridged
as well
large
is that
portions
there's
of
so many
them
stories and so many
focused on
ways of
just the
telling these
details
stories
that
that
you need to know.
I
while
just love
also
seeing how many
adding
different
some new
mediums they
information
take to
that
approach
I
these
didn't include the
different
last
themes.
time that we spoke about them. Okay, with
Whether it's
all
a
that
book
said,
or an
quick
animation
shout out
or a
to this
movie.
video's sponsor, and then we're diving headfirst into
Every
the grim dark.
audiobook
This
ever.
video is sponsored by Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus.
Ah,
and if
that's
you're
what
not
they wanted to
playing it
sponsor me to
already,
play.
There's never been a better time to jump in.
So
Yeah,
fun,
that
fun
tracks.
story chat. Literally 2 weeks ago, I got approached by GW to play this game. I've also found out that GW knows me by name now, specifically because of my reactionary content. So thanks everyone for giving me the opportunity to taint the GW home base. Thanks.
As they've just added everyone's favorite Space Marine vampires, the Blood Angels, to the game.
Blood
including
Angels.
the Lord of Death himself.
Still a
the
better love
legendary
story than
champion
Twilight.
Mephiston, Chief Librarian
doesn't
of the
take
Ninth
much.
Legion. And let me tell you, this dude is an absolute powerhouse. His passive
And
Fury
this
of the
video is already
Ancients
long enough,
generates
so
extra.
skip.
Number 10, the Pale Wasting.
Ooh, very
Let's
guy.
kick this
Ooh.
video off with a relatively obscure yet devastating apocalypse.
You know what, Tia, if we get to one of these stories and you know about it, please let me know what you know, because I'd love to pick your brain about it.
Okay, we can compare notes here.
Sure.
that doesn't get talked about nearly enough, both in the 40K community and the lore itself. And that's because, and this will very quickly become a pattern throughout this video, almost all of the information pertaining to it has been aggressively censored or redacted by the Inquisition.
Of course.
This little
And
apocalypse
retconned by
that
GW.
would come to be known as the Pale Wasting.
Well, that's how they do it, don't they? They want to say that it's been redacted by the Imperial, but it's just GW's way of being like, whoopsie daisy, we shouldn't have put that in the law.
Yeah.
was caused by something that crawled out of everyone's favorite super creepy haunted region of space, the Ghoul Stars. Now, if you're unfamiliar with them, there haven't really been
Yeah,
that
that
many
tracks.
expeditions into
Ghoul
the Ghoul
Stars?
Stars, so we don't really know everything that's going
Now
on. in them. But
beyond
it is said
Ultramar.
to be home to multiple different Xenos empires, a Necron dynasty consisting of nothing but cannibalistic flayed ones,
Ooh.
and, quote,
Yup.
horrors beyond human comprehension.
Horrors behind human comprehensions? Wow, sounds like checking X in the morning.
Cthulhu is
As
back.
it happens, in the 34th
Cthulhu
millennium,
o'clock.
one of those horrors managed to break free and
Ooh,
unleashed
that's a little bit Warcrafty, actually. Kind of,
Oh, yes.
N'Zoth levels of BS.
what is described only as a star-spawned plague brought forth by a series of nightmare engines. What all of that actually means is anybody's guess, but we do know that this thing managed to wipe out hundreds, if not thousands of planets, and a total combined force of 12 Space Marine chapters.
I think that's how the premise of horror within the Warhammer universe works. Like, I look at this kind of stuff because Warhammer isn't necessarily horror in of itself, but it makes a great placeholder for horror. And the thematics of like taking what is human and corrupting it is what makes the horror work in such an unsettling way, I feel. Like looking at that and then like because I've listened to a few of the audiobook, like specifically the horror audiobooks, and it's that compulsion of like knowing the relevancy of human and how you relate to that, and seeing that get warped to its like foundations makes it so unsettling.
True.
They do good with the whole body horror. I mean, they kind of have to. It's Warhammer.
And force of 12 Space Marine chapters were deployed to push it back. Of those 12,
Nova Marines and 11 others
completely wiped out.
The 11 others didn't come back.
Being the Nova Marines, who had suffered unprecedented losses and were rewarded for their sacrifice with a plaque in the Imperial Palace that honored them for pushing back, quote, that which could not die. So yeah, this thing was beyond crazy and killed a lot of people. But since most of its records have been purged, we can't really make any definitive statements about what—
Isn't that so, like, poignant how self-deprecating the Imperium is? The fact that they managed to push back something that could not die, something so overwhelmingly terrifying that it would literally destroy the entire galaxy, and yet the Space Marines pushed it back, and yet they're willing to completely abstain that from the records. Something so powerful, something so crazy, and they pushed it back. Something that with the same, like, surely the typical mindset would be, oh, well, we should know how they did that. Surely that would help us in our fight against everything else. But that either says one of two things. Either it was so terrifying that the knowledge, it's like a SCP Cognito hazard or something. Knowing about how to push it back might be more dangerous than actually pushing it back. You know what I mean? The knowledge is more dangerous than what you're planning on using it for.
But it actually was. And despite the Ghoul Star's terrifying reputation, it's far from unique in terms of barely understood and underexplored regions of space that at one point or another is served as the origin point for an apocalyptic event. So for the next entry, we're going to move further out into the galactic map.
So he's not going to talk about it here, but
Halo Stars.
2 key events happened with this
Number
one.
9.
So 2 very important things happened. The 13th founding was then literally forced to happen, which gave us a bunch of different really cool Space Marines. But more importantly, it gave us the most important ones that are relevant to that. It gave us the Death Specters, who actually are a chapter of Space Marines that exist beyond the rim of the galaxy. Their whole job is to watch from the outside in.
Right. Is that similar to the chapter that ended up going into the warp and kind of became Spectres and a sort of a faction that only appear when very specific criteria are manifested?
No. So those are actually, for the most part, the Legion of the Damned is typically considered to be the Emperor's own personal legion. In the Horus Heresy, he called them once, and it was the ghosts of Isvan 3 and Isvan 5 that turned up, including the reincarnated ghost of Ferrus Manus.
Oh, shit.
While they were trying to defend the webway under the Imperial Palace.
Okay. So the Spectres, the ones who are outside the rim, they're like a very specialized faction that is more of observers to be a bastion, I guess.
Their entire job is to watch the Ghoul Stars, and if anything fucking twitches, to nuke it from orbit. Quite literally.
I love this intricacy. Like, don't get me wrong, I love learning about the mainstay of like Ultramarines, the main chapters, the main factions, but it's these like little microcosm faculties that are way more appealing to me, because that's the kind of stuff that, like, the main factions, the main legions and everything, they're kind of cool and they make up the mainstay of everything, but it's these smaller things that tie it all together.
Yes.
The Forgotten Apocalypse. If you're unfamiliar with them, the Halo Stars derive their name from the fact that they form a ring around the outer edge of the galaxy. It comprised of the Milky Way's most ancient stars.
Because that's also the question, right? Then you start questioning, okay, so we see, what's the word? Not trends, but we see patterns, right? You get a ring of ringed stars around the entire galaxy. Oh, is that just a natural thing, or is there some galactic bullshit happening?
Yes.
It's like what's that path of dead planets? I forgot the name of it. It's like not a ravine. It's like a gulch of planets in the sector that's just dead, and it looks like an encroaching thing coming towards the galaxy, kind of thing.
Oh, I know the one you mean, but I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head either.
Yeah.
That one doesn't get anywhere near enough attention. The only thing that is currently speculated about it is that it's a sector of what might have once been a Necron dynasty, and it might still be, but nobody's gone back to really find out.
I almost wonder if that's like an Immaterium thing where something's happening in the warp, but it's bleeding through to this dimension, but we can't feel it. But it's tainting enough to kill the planets outside the warp in its presence, kind of thing.
Could be. I mean, the warp sucks in whole ass planets pretty regularly, so it wouldn't be a surprise if there was
Sucks almost as much as I do.
And countless long dead planets. This region is the source
Well, half
of an
as much as your
ancient
mother.
myth that speaks of a nameless, unremembered war. A war said to be unequaled in ferocity and so terrifying that the Inquisition did what it does best, went about covering up all history of it. Although most of the Halo stars remain unexplored to this day, there have been attempts from the Adeptus Mechanicus explorator fleets
Of course,
to
the
probe its
Adeptus
hidden secrets
Mechanicus.
in the past.
Yeah.
The Adeptus Mechanicus, as cool as they are so brat-coded. Literally, the Adeptus Mechanicus, yes, the Imperium are too pussyfoot. They have told us directly not to go and explore these planets. Well, you know what we're gonna do? Just because they told us not to, we're gonna go do it. Because we gotta find what the Imperium are hiding. If they don't want it, we do.
One such attempt took place in the
I love the
32nd
Explorators.
millennium,
They get
while
such-
the Imperium
they get
was still
bonkers.
licking its wounds from the Horus Heresy. Now, apparently, one of their fleets stumbled upon a truly terrible artifact that would come to be known as the Echoing Vault. We're not 100% sure what this thing was or who built it. The only
I think the sad thing about a lot of this is GW will place these amazing little MacGuffins in the universe, give them really big grandeur behind them, like this whole space vault thing. They put them in the universe and then never expand on them. Thanks, GW. Edging is great.
reference to it that exists currently uncensored is contained in the battle sagas of several ancient Space Marine chapters, but they don't really go into any specifics. What we do know is that the vault acted as some type of interdimensional portal, and when it was opened,
Well,
a
yeah, I
wave
guess that's kind of what it is, right? GW does that specifically to breadcrumb people into intrigue to get people more immersed in the universe. Just like the Emperor.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, the Emperor's gonna get up, guys. At some point in the future, the Emperor's gonna get up off his chair. He's gonna do it. You better stick around to find out. I still believe that at some point there has been a custodian in the Emperor's chamber, and the custodian has been stood there, and he hears like a rustling behind him. The Emperor gets up out of his chair, does some Pilates, looks down at the custodians and says, "No one will believe you."
No one will ever believe you. Yeah. Very probably, honestly.
of eldritch abominations funneled out of the gateway.
I
and
remember
invaded
this
our
one. This is
reality.
the harrowing.
These creatures were dubbed the harrowing, and
Yes.
were said to violate the laws
I think you made a
of
video on this
physics in
specifically.
profane and disturbing ways.
Well, someone
they were
did.
so unnatural that an individual risked death or insanity just by being near them. They ravaged everything in their path for multiple light years, and in only a few short years, they managed to destroy 1,000 worlds, inhabited by both humans and aliens alike. In addition, they inflicted unprecedented losses on both the Inquisition and the Adeptus Astartes who were sent to fight them. If the legends are to
Yup.
be believed, then the Harrowing was only defeated when the Inquisition shamefully authorized the Mechanicus to employ forbidden weaponry from the Dark Age of technology.
Oh, and that's the hypocrisy of the Imperium. They're so willing to stand up against their morals and their rights, right up until it becomes convenient for them not to.
Yep. Which also,
order
this
to-
is where one of the lesser known chunks of the Inquisition come from. The Fananites, which are they're literally, in all intents and purposes, traitors trying to build their own version of the Imperium. They wanted merge tech and warp sciences
It's
in
like
order to
dark
bring the
magic.
Emperor back.
Well,
Oh, yes.
Wasn't that kind of a similar thing that happened with with Belisarius Cawl and his Primarch system? They were so against it for such a long time, but then they realized they were so fucked and outclassed that they were like, you know what? Fuck it, Belisarius Cawl, just hold my bid, do it, just do it.
No, they kind of forgot he existed until Gilliman came back and was like, oh, by the way, I authorized him to do this 10,000 years ago. There's your cheeky retcon.
Ah, okay, because I remember reading somewhere that it was like you know what it probably was? I think it was because they just didn't like what Belisarius Cawl was doing 90% of the time. So when he kind of feigned into obscurity.
No. Nobody likes what Cawl gets up to. Not even Cawl when he realizes, oh, that's what other me was doing. That fucking asshole.
I love Belisarius Cawl just for how much of a sassy bitch he is. And I think it's like, as comedically as it is, Emperor's text-to-speech portrays his personality type so fucking well.
Yep.
Feel the breach between dimensions. No one knows what happened to the vault itself, but many heretics believe that it is
I
still
admit,
out
I have to give you a tangent here. I have to give you a tangent about
Tangent
him.
away, darling.
Okay, so Belisarius Cawl recently had a book published where he went head-to-head with everybody's favorite emperor's child, Fabius Bile, over their thing. Their, penis measuring contest, basically. And really big developments happened. One, Fabius Bile got a hold of the original gene samples for creating Primaris Marines. So congrats, we're going to officially start seeing Chaos Primaris Marines here very soon.
Oh god.
Two, as part of his deal, he got the Dark Mechanicum to work with Fabius Bile, and his end of the bargain involved trading something from his own personal vault.
Oh no.
A corrupted man of iron.
Isn't that so cool though? How like, as slow as the Warhammer universe is, seeing this constant like power up scaling is kind of compelling to how rapidly the scale of things just gets out of hand. We went from the Dark Ages into this era of strife and everything, but then we got the Primaris thing that boosted up the Imperium, and now the Chaos are getting boosted up. The Orcs are kind of getting some semblance of their Krork levels returning to them. So things are like, traction is there, and the power scaling is there, but it's done at such a slow pace that you actually kind of get, it's way more impactful when something actually happens. Like, unlike the rest of the world where nothing ever happens, in the Warhammer universe, something actually happens every now and again.
Everything's a power-up arc.
One of them will finally claim it and unleash those terrors on the galaxy once again. Now, despite how terrible both of these events were and how ill-prepared the Imperium was to fend them off, this was not the first time something like this had happened.
Wow, that's some striking imagery.
Was still young, only 40 years into the Great Crusade,
love 3rd edition
they
art.
would face their first real threat. One that if events had gone different...
If I remember correctly, the artist who was behind most of the 13th edition artwork just retired recently. I remember seeing something like that on my Twitter feed.
Oh, I don't know. I would have to go look. I wouldn't be surprised, though, because, again, 3rd edition was fucking late 90s.
Yeah, sorry, 3rd edition, that's what I meant. I remember seeing it somewhere. Like, most of the early art, the guy responsible for it just retired recently.
Could have seen the Imperium wiped out entirely before it had even really gotten started. Number 8, the Rangdan Xenocides.
Oh, this is a good one. Okay.
Rangdan Xenocide sounds like an amazing album cover name.
Yeah, this is a, if my brain is itching correctly, this is the one that killed the 2nd and 11th legions.
Ooh.
For what they actually look like, the xenospecies known as the Rangda were said to be towering monstrosities, as terrifying in strength as they were in intellect. They were conquerors and destroyers, whose ambition, coupled with their foul, blasphemous technology, threatened to drown the Emperor's dreams in a sea of blood. All in all, the Imperium would end up embroiled in 3 separate wars with these guys. Although that last one wasn't so much a war. And
it is also kind of funny how much these different, like, non-mainstay factions tend to overlap thematically with each other. Because these guys look like they'd be right at home either with the Tyranids or the Chaos.
Oh, this is... Oh, no. This is a mainstay. This is actually a mainstay. Yeah, this is the Dark Angels got to break out everything in the Dark Vaults during the Great Crusade to wipe these motherfuckers off the face of the earth.
Damn, and yet there's been no representation of them in. I suppose that's like the differentiation. What's canonically mainstay as story-wise versus what's represented in the game, or like the tabletop and such.
More a merciless execution, but we'll get into it. They were first encountered in the galactic frontier when they attacked fledgling Imperial worlds by surprise. The total number of civilian deaths, coupled with those of other Imperial military forces, was lost to history. Though
Trillions.
we do know an estimated 5,000 Space Marines of the Dark Angels Legion, who had been sent to intercept them, would lose their lives in the fighting.
That's a lot of
Now,
Space
believing
Marines.
that the Rangda had been defeated, the Great Crusade got back underway. But here's the thing. They most certainly had not been defeated at all. This was nothing but a small outpost of them, and 2 decades later, they would attack again from the galactic north, this time coming in full force, with a vast armada of ships comprised of thousands of vessels and over a dozen war moons. They left a trail of burning planets in their wake. Many were scoured clean of life, whereas on others, they would mind control the entire population via neural shackles.
God. As if it's not bad enough with just the mainstay factions we see in the tabletop, then we're reminded there's these other, like, galactic spanning forces. Dude, the Imperium of Mankind is so fucked!
Oh, yeah.
And raise them as a thrall army to throw against the Imperium. Over the next 2 decades, dozens of Titan legions, entire exploratory fleets, 19 inhabited systems, over 80,000 Astartes, and millions upon millions of lives would be lost before the crisis was finally declared ended. It's even rumored that this is where the 2nd and 11th Legion, as well as their corresponding Primarchs, would end up getting destroyed. But take that with a grain of salt, as there's a lot of conflicting information about the missing legions out there, so we'll get into that.
And that's what's so amazing about these sort of like more guttural type stories, is that they give you just enough information to get across the theming of everything, but they don't give you so much to give you the full picture, which is in storytelling one of the best methods to let the reader interpret it for themselves. When you leave them with more questions when you leave them with questions to interpret things for themselves, it helps your imagination fill in the gaps, as it were. And I love that in storytelling, because it just makes you want to get more. It makes you want to learn more.
Another video. Perhaps even more tragically, this was one of the first times the Imperium would have to take extreme measures to censor information. It was believed that for them to be able to rebuild properly, and the people to maintain faith in the Great Crusade and the Emperor's plans, all surviving veterans of the conflict would need to be silenced. A small handful were able to be trusted to swear an oath.
Listen, I know this is a serious video, but anytime I see a hot woman in power armor or in as like a commissar like this, it instantly tickles my art brain.
Oath to secrecy.
Yeah, that's the only thing it tickles.
Rest were executed.
Shh, damn, this is such a
Entire
serious
worlds
video.
full of survivors that were planned to be part of the Imperium would end up getting cut off and abandoned, forced to fend for themselves against the horrors of an uncaring galaxy. But this isn't where the story of the Rangda ends. It had one more bloody chapter, wherein we get the name the Rangdan Xenocides from.
Ooh.
By chance, the White Scars would happen to discover the ancient nesting grounds of the Rangda, where their survivors had fled to lick their wounds. This information was delivered to the Dark Angels and the Space Wolves, who subsequently deployed in force, obliterating their worlds from orbit before descending to verify that there were no
Every time I hear one of these stories, it's always prefaced with them saying, so yeah, they just blew the fucking planet up. How many times are they gonna have to blow the planet up to solve a problem before there's no more habitable planets in the entire galaxy? Because I'm sure as time is going by, that number, sure, there are so many planets in the galaxy, but if you keep blasting every fucking planet, eventually you're not gonna be left with anything left.
Look, just ask Cadia how well that goes.
Oh, you had to bring Cadia into, you know what? Cadia stands!
Nah, yeah, you know what stands even better? Mordian. Anyway.
Fucking love Mordian.
survivors. Even though it's called the Third Rangdan War, this wasn't really a war at all. More so a one-sided extermination. Every surviving life form was cut down. their great cities burned, and all traces of their civilization purged in fire. Although unlikely, it is possible that some Rangda managed to survive, that they're out there somewhere right now, biding their time and waiting for the perfect moment
That
to
is
take
some
their
nightmare
revenge.
fuel. I mean,
By the
literally.
way, this would not be the last apocalyptic event inflicted upon mankind by an unknown enemy. But
I take it. I could take it easy. Look at those tentacles. It ain't nothing. It ain't got nothing against my tentacles. You know what? You want a tentacle fight? I'll give you a tentacle fight.
in the next event we're going to talk about, the Imperium was not facing an entire army, but a single creature of incalculable power. Number 7,
Mind.
the Catalexis heresy.
Ooh, I've never heard of
The
this
Ooh.
one.
Warhammer
This is
40K universe is full of
This sounds like an older one. Is it an older one?
If I remember right, it is an older one. I don't remember all the
Horrifyingly
details. If I remember right, this came from Ravenor or Eisenhorn's series. But I might be wrong. It's been a hot minute since I heard this
more
one.
well documented than others. One of the most famous was a creature known as the Cacodominus. We don't really have a lot of insight into what exactly this thing
And
was,
they picked up my
whether or
porn
not
name.
it was a one-off genetic freak or the harbinger of a yet unidentified xenospecies. Whatever the case may be, this thing was easily one of the most powerful psychic entities that has ever blighted the physical universe. It was able to single-handedly mind control the combined populations of 1,300 Imperial planetary
Jesus.
systems simultaneously.
Yo.
Not planets, entire systems, with endless
See, here's the thing as well. In the grand scheme
I'm
of
pretty
things,
sure this is Eisenhorn.
yeah, in the grand scheme of things, there are so many of these like galactic ending threats, whether that be the species of psychonetic creatures that inhabit people that were so powerful they could literally end planets in a single thought. But they were running from a galactic spanning psychic entity that was chasing them in that direction, or whether it be these other like eldritch machination type things. Eventually, like all the smaller things in between them, like the humans, the Tau, whatever. Eventually, that becomes. I feel like eventually these smaller entities within just get overwhelmed entirely, and eventually you're just left with these multiple galactic ending threats. And what happens when you get an unstoppable force with an immovable object? Like how much destruction happens when these things collide? You know, because they're all coming from different ends of the galaxy, and it's only a matter of time before they meet.
That's true.
legions of mind-controlled slaves under its control. It kicked off a terrible and bloody war that only stopped when the Black
Ooh,
Templars
I remember this
launched a
artwork.
crusade against
This was one of the first bits of art I ever saw of Black Templar. It's so good.
that ended in its execution. The amount of death inflicted by this thing was bad enough. But
God, I miss these OG designs. Third edition artwork like this was just. This is the stuff that got me into Warhammer when I was like first being introduced to it.
to the Black
Second and third
Templars
edition's
at the
so
time
good.
who thought they were victorious, the worst was yet to come. Right before the creature succumbed to its injuries, it let loose a terrible psychic death scream that reverberated throughout the warp, amplifying in power with each subsequent echo. As this terrible wave of psychic backlash ripped across the stars, it burned out the minds of 1 billion astropaths, the cycles
Shit.
that make interstellar communication possible for the Imperium if you're unfamiliar with them. Now, not only this, but it severely distorted the signal of the Astronomicon, which the Imperium's vessels use like the North Star to navigate the warp. Millions upon millions of these ships were
As you can
lost
see,
in the Sea
this
of
happens
Souls,
somewhat
and
frequently.
entire subsectors
I was gonna say, like, this is what I meant when I said these galactic powers. They just completely overwhelm anything of what we construe as being the regular powers, you know? And if anything, that puts into perspective just how small the individuals are within that universe, you know? You've got these galactic spanning entities, eldritch machinations, these reality warping things, and then you've got these factions and planets within that, but within those planets and factions within that, you've got the individual people who are so small, and like the scope of Warhammer is just so massive. So, you know, not surprised that you really, if you're getting into Warhammer, you really shouldn't concern yourself with anything beyond the smaller stuff, because otherwise you're just going to overwhelm yourself.
now
Don't
lacking the guidance of the
be like
Adeptus
me.
Terra, descended into anarchy.
Or like
Although
you turned me
countless
into.
lives were lost, the lingering
slowly.
effects of the Cacodomitus would eventually fade and order would be restored. However,
That's a
the
bit
next
Doom-like,
event we're going
actually.
to talk about left
yeah.
wounds so deep within the
Ah, there he
Imperium
is. Horus!
that even now, 10,000 years later,
See,
they
Tia?
haven't been
See?
able.
I recognized a thing in the Warhammer universe. I knew, yeah,
Yes.
recognizing Horus in the Warhammer universe is like recognizing a Big Mac at McDonald's.
to fully heal.
Considering he's not the
Number
basis
6,
of everything,
the
it's still
Horus
good.
Heresy.
Hey!
To call the Horus
Yeah!
Heresy one of the most pivotal apocalyptic events in the
Okay.
entirety of 40K's.
If people
This
are
is
gonna
where
get into
90% of Tia's actual personal library is Horus
Mm.
Heresy.
I mean, if people are going to get into the Warhammer universe and they're going to learn anything about the lore, this is probably where it starts.
This is the second place I would tell people to start. First is always the Caiaphas Cain books. Second is Horus Heresy.
Mhm,
Third is Gaunt's Ghosts.
timeline would be a massive understatement. And honestly, just as an entry in a list-style video like this, we really can't even begin to fully do it justice. In the book series by the same name, there are 92 full-length novels that cover it.
Yes,
Jesus
I know.
Christ!
I own most of them. And the Siege of Terra.
You
Just
know,
10
I
volumes in and of itself.
I guarantee you, there are people out there who have libraries in their house dedicated purely just to Warhammer novel and memorabilia like that.
Hi. That's me.
The novellas, the collections, the audio dramas, etc., etc. So we're going to keep it brief and just stick to the broad strokes. At the tail end of the Great Crusade, the Emperor would return to Terra to work on his Webway project, and would anoint
Check.
Horus Lupercal, Primarch of the Luna Wolves, as the Great Crusade's War Master. He would lead in the
Check.
Emperor's place and would speak with his authority.
Okay, to dumb it down for the
Check.
people who may not know Warhammer, Space Wolves are space furries, okay?
He's not Space Wolves, though.
Now, due to a series of manipulations involving
I
the
love
Warbearers Legion,
this
the Chaos
series
Gods,
of
and everyone's
images.
favorite
Mm,
sentient
so
human,
much.
Paula
I've
Berevan,
seen this everywhere.
Most get your fuck ass face out of here.
Mostly because
Sorry,
Horus
instinctual.
Horus in this looks like Thanos.
Oh, 100%.
And it's funny because that's so pertinent for his archetype too.
this, Horus would end up turning traitor. He would rally half of the Space Marine legions to his cause, telling them that the Emperor had lied to them. He was unfit to lead, and for humanity to survive, he would need to be overthrown. From the first shots of the drop site massacre to the invasion of Calth, all the way to the gates of the Imperial Palace itself in the Siege of Terra, humanity would be embroiled in one of the bloodiest civil wars the species had ever seen. The war would eventually come to an end, wherein Horus, now a full-blown puppet of the Chaos Gods and infused with a portion of their terrible power, faced the Emperor in a final battle on his flagship. He would fail to overthrow him, losing his life and having his soul completely
You know why he
obliterated in
failed?
the process.
I do wasn't it the other Primarchs interfered?
No. One, there was a custodian that stuck his nose in. I think his name's Colquan. 2, Alanius Pius happened, and he literally just kind of got obliterated as just a normal dude. And 3, Horus Lupercal's a brat. No, he totally is. He literally, Emperor pulled a full-on mind trick on him, and it literally like whispered to him as he was about to die, like, "Hey, you know, if you do this with their power, it wasn't really you who did it." And Horus went, "You're right," and he released all the power, only to then go, "Oh wait, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit," and it was too late.
I always feel like there's also a sentiment in there of the Chaos Gods leading him astray, saying like, "Okay, we're gonna give you all this power. You said you'd give me so much power."
No, it was worse than that. Horus actually was getting to the point of being so powerful that the Chaos Gods put too much go juice into
Oh,
him
Wow.
that he was actually going to literally burn them out.
Oh shit.
And they couldn't stop him.
But he's
Like
back now,
their
right?
their champion started to eclipse them, and so there was a whole bunch of issues with that on top of it.
Ooh.
Yeah,
And now he's back.
that's why
right?
we've never seen another Horus. It's because they went, "We're not making that mistake again."
Hasn't Horus returned though?
He hasn't returned. 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 He's come back once again with Fabius Bile, who made a perfect clone of him, and Abaddon literally tore his head from his shoulders
Smooth.
because Abaddon was like, "Nope, I'm not going through this level of emotional trauma again."
Family issues. You can't
Oh,
live
yes.
with them. I think we're gonna need at least 2 Dr. Phils for this family feud.
But he would
He's
succeed
being
in mortally
sued.
wounding his father.
He is.
The emperor would be placed on life support upon the Golden Throne and would stay there entombed for the next 10,000 years.
Man, if only there was a way we could get a text-to-speech device for this, man. I'm sure that wouldn't result in a goofy series of events. God, we're gonna have to watch Empress Text-to-Speech again at some point, I swear.
The total death toll
If we do,
of
we'll
the
probably
Horus
record it for
Heresy
YouTube.
is gotta be
Ah,
something
this
immense.
cinematic was killer. I didn't actually realize this was based in the past for the Horus Heresy. I thought this was like a more modern thing.
Yep, this is 30K.
Now, the Warhammer Wiki claims that it's somewhere in the realm between 2.3 and 4.6 trillion, but I don't know where they're getting that number from. I spent a solid day
So
checking
many
out
dead
all of the
people.
sources that they had listed, and I'm not seeing it. So if
God,
you
I
know
love
of a
those
source
30K
that-
designs. I still remember to this day the first time I got a model with the beak mask, and I loved it so much, I wanted to have all of my Marines with it.
The beaky helmet. We love Mark 6.
Mmm.
not seeing it. So if you know of a source
Although that was
has
Mark
this
IV Maximus
exact
shoulder
figure in
guards.
it, then definitely let me
Interesting
know about it
blend.
in the comment section. Until then, I'm going to assume this is inaccurate to say the least.
I wonder if we're
It's
ever
very
gonna
inaccurate. That's just what was on Terra.
I wonder if we're ever gonna get a game like specifically in the mainstay for the 30K universe. I don't know if that'd maybe be.
We did. It was a mobile game.
But that's not a mainstay. I'm talking like AAA, not a mobile bullshit thing.
Oh god. I would love that. It isn't ever gonna happen.
No, because it'd
There-
be too confusing.
It would be too confusing, and there's so much.
Even still, it does give us an idea of just how devastating this event truly was. And they're only really taking into account the lives lost during that 9-year period of time. Considering that
Yeah, it was only 9
90% of
years.
all of the bad things that have happened to the Imperium since this time can at least trace themselves back in some respect to the Horus Heresy, the actual death toll is unthinkable. Now, even though the Horus Heresy is easily one of the worst things to have ever happened to the Imperium,
Well, hi,
if
Sanguinius.
you take out the estimated deaths that would occur in the future as consequence of this event and simply focus on the number of lives lost during the event itself, it doesn't come anywhere even remotely close to the next apocalypse we're going to talk about. Number 5, the Tyrannic War.
Yep. And
Ooh,
so
I
this is
knew
one
these
that-
were going to
yep,
come up.
This is one I've been. I took a bit of a break from listening to these kind of things, but this was one of the last ones I started listening to. And
Yeah.
it's horrifying. I both simultaneously love and hate the story behind the Tyranids, but at the same time, it is also one of the most interesting.
I love the
I don't
Tyrannic
think we could
Wars.
do a
This is
list
how we
about
get
40K's
Marnius
space
Calgar being
apocalypses
Marnius
without
Calgar.
bringing up the Tyranids, as many consider them to be the largest threat the Imperium is currently facing, and that goes for literally every other living creature in the galaxy as well. But all things considered, the Tyranids haven't really been around for very long. Their first documented sighting was only 260 years ago. Since
And in 260 years, do you see how much they fucked everything up?
Oh, yes.
And the scary thing is, like, they're coming from every single angle outside the galaxy's rim. So everything we've dealt with so far in the Warhammer universe with them is really only a tiny microcosm of their full potential force, which makes you wonder, there's gonna have to be some galactic bullshit to, if we are gonna push them back, if they are gonna be smitten, there's gonna be something, there's gonna need to be something major. So my belief is
Fun
that
fact. There has been something major that has made them pause and go, hang on.
So my speculation is they are running from something else.
I don't think so. But again, that is speculation. They have been paused because the galaxy split in two. We have actual firsthand accounts from literally the Blood Angels defending Baal. Of the moment the galaxy split in half, all of the Tyranids that were assaulting Baal as it was about to fall stopped, looked up, and screamed.
That's a horrifying mental image.
Millions of them.
I have a speculation. It's either they're running from something or they act a bit like the what are they called? The things from Mass Effect.
I know the one you mean. I don't even play Mass Effect, but they're the
Reapers.
obnoxious
The
thing that
Reapers?
makes the Reapers that make horrible
Reapers.
noises. Yes.
Yeah, the Reapers. I almost feel like they act like the Reapers, where they're like a galactic cleanse to start things from scratch again.
I wonder.
Because you got to think about it, right? Just by their ethos alone, they thrive off of consuming biomass. So when the entire galaxy is void of biomass, they basically devolve back to nothing because there's nothing more to consume, and then the galaxy has a chance to reset itself.
There's always a bigger fish.
That fateful moment that the Imperium discovered a whole bunch of dead worlds that had been completely stripped of life down to the cellular level. The Tyranids have unleashed 4 separate massive incursions that are commonly referred to as the Tyrannic Wars. Each and every one substantially more
I want to play Space Marine 2 again. I want to play Space Marine 2. I want to play Space Marine 2 again.
devastating.
You know I'm
last.
always down.
You see,
fuck yeah.
Tyranids as a species are famed for their ability to quickly adapt to whatever they're fighting against, whether that be by utilizing their accelerated...
You know, slightly off topic, but I did recently watch a video where somebody broke down a typical invasion of a Tyranid invasion. I think this is it.
Gene Stealer infiltration.
Yeah, wait, is this it?
Which, fun fact, we've gone back and talked about that a lot. A lot of Imperial scholars have gone, oh, wait a minute, they've been here a lot longer than we thought.
See,
So 250 years.
This is the kind of stuff I love.
Right.
I love really getting into these kind of like
A related
breakdown
vanguard
videos.
organism.
Yeah, it
is
was
an
definitely this guy.
Tyranid-
He did a specific video of a Imperial Guard faction defending a hive city against a Tyranid invasion. And these things are, this one, maybe? Yes, this thing.
Here,
These are
a pair of
so
ancient
cool.
cathedrals once
These are
served
really
as
good.
the crowning jewels of a long imperial...
You know, chat, if you want me to do a reactionary, because I watched one that was like this, but this is the kind of thing that if you would like me to react to, let me know in the comments, because these, they're a little bit of a slow burn, but they're really interesting if you love the ethos of the Warhammer universe.
parade ground. Now, however, the grand buildings have been
They like go
co-opted.
into really tight detail about the intricacy of the way each faction works within their sort of
The
zeitgeist.
enemy is here.
The enemy is here.
Anyway, just a bit of a thing.
evolution to come up with new bioforms that are able to directly counter whatever you throw at them, or by consuming the biomass of their slain enemies
Oh, hi,
to
Tau.
learn everything about them, their strengths, their
The one
weaknesses,
that's a
and even
lictor.
their memories are
The one
cataloged
faction that
by the
gets
hive
cut
mind
in
for
every
later
setting in the
use.
Warhammer universe.
The first Tyrannic War was fought
That's
against
what happens when
Hive
you're a
Behemoth
professional
that invaded from
weeb.
the Eastern Fringe.
But also the
For
only
as
faction in the
dangerous as
entire
they were,
Warhammer universe
this
that could
was
be
the most
construed as
straightforward
the
fight
good
mankind
guys.
would ever have against them.
No.
They were brutally direct
But
in their
yeah, that's what I'm
approach,
saying. Even
like
that
a
could be
giant
maybe
flaming battle
construed.
ram that bowled through everything in its path, including the Imperial
Commander
world of
Farsight would like a
Tyran,
word
which is
about,
really
about
That's
those
why I'm
thoughts.
saying maybe. Okay. You know what? You know those spectrums of like lawful evil, chaotic good? Yeah, the Tau are the only ones who are in the good category.
They're vaguely good. I would say they're more neutral. They just haven't had time to accrue the number of tally marks for atrocities that everybody else has yet.
defeated by the
They're
Ultramarines
working on
and
it,
the
though.
Tempestus fleet at the Battle for Makari. Now, in the aftermath, there were several
We march
different
for
kinds of
Makari. Anyway.
Tyranids that remained a problem, but most of their major battles were fought against the Eldar and the Tau. From the Imperium's perspective, however, this may have been a one-off encounter. They heavily fortified the Eastern Fringe just in case they returned, but after 2 centuries without any major incidents to speak of, discussions began on whether or not those troops should be deployed elsewhere. And then, Hive Fleet Kraken showed up and kicked off the Second Tyrannic War. Now, this Hive Fleet was completely different. It was cunning and capable of advanced tactics that Behemoth wasn't. It split its main force into multiple splinter fleets that would attack from multiple angles, routinely outflanking Imperial forces. It probed the enemy's defenses for weak points before striking with decisive force. Now, once again, the Ultramarines were called upon to face down the Xenos threat, and they would eventually defeat the Hive Fleet. but it's estimated that their rampage consumed over 1,000 worlds in the process, along with almost 80% of the
Malnis
Eldar
Calgar
craft
time?
world beyond it.
Malnis Calgar?
At the
Doing
end of the
Malnis
41st
Calgar things?
millennium, the third
Yep.
Tyrannic War would begin when High Fleet Leviathan attacked from underneath the galactic plane in a large, widespread assault on the galaxy. Having learned from
Dude, we need to just watch a video on Malnis Calgar at some point, because that man absolutely just walks with Giga Chad energy. He is literally, like, there may not be a main character in the Warhammer universe, but Malnis Calgar may come close.
You heard it here first, chat. Kari wants herself an ultra fisting.
I mean, yeah, but that's not really pertinent to the plot here.
all of its previous engagements,
Well, you watch
and
Marquise
now
Calgar,
bearing
you're gonna get
tendrils
it.
more capable of acting independently, as well as a large amount of psychic organisms, the total loss of life shot up exponentially. Things got so bad so quickly that the Imperium would end up doing the unthinkable, inflicting genocide on its own planets just to slow them down. Inquisitor Critman called for the exterminatus of all of the worlds within the High Fleet's path in an attempt to starve it of biomass. Now, despite the horrific implications
Yeah,
of
that
such
sounds
a
like the Imperium.
decision, it ultimately did kinda sort
Segment
of
of
work,
Tempestus
at
gets
least for a little
shafted
while.
so
But the
often.
Tyranids would eventually recover,
God.
making it all the way to the Blood Angels' homeworld of Baal. This is also the
Yeah.
period where we see the Octarius Wars begin, wherein that same Inquisitor from before, who has now been branded as a heretic for his crimes, was still committed to the goal of eradicating the Tyranids, and thus lured one of their splinter fleets as bait into the path of the Orcs.
That's the one I was
There
talking
it
about. Yeah,
is.
that's the one I was talking about.
Yep.
That story is fucking hysterical.
were looking pretty
Yep.
bleak, and it seemed for a moment that this may be the end of the Imperium. But with the revival of Rabute Gilliman and the opening of the Great Rift, the Tyranid advance was halted, and thus ended the Third Tyrannic War. With the launch of Warhammer 10th Edition, the Fourth
Yeah, you
Tyrannic
love
War
when you
has
break
fully
your
gotten
psychic
underway,
mind link.
wherein Leviathan invaded yet again, this time attacking from 3 directions simultaneously. As
You know, I do love the old designs of the Space Marines, but these modern ones look, I don't know, there's something compelling about
Oh,
how imposing they are.
is a developing
this
narrative, and
this
we don't
right
really
here
have a
is
conclusion
that's
to
a
it yet.
hot
I'll
take.
dedicate a
That
lot
is a
more
hot take.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
you know what? I know
old-
the argument. I know,
old.
like the new ones. It looks like they've kind of lost their identity a bit. They're a bit more generic, but they're a bit
They are.
more imposing, I suppose would be the word. I guess it's like
So-
it's the difference, disparity between identity and branding.
A little bit. So the theory on the inside of the vine has always been, oh, we got Primaris Marines because GW wanted to correct the scaling of their models, because at the end of the day, models are what always drive GW to do anything. Everything else is secondary. So the issue is, if you ask any of the old heads about the Primaris, they don't like them for 2 reasons. One, they changed up how squad composition works for the tabletop side. You
yeah, I
can't
remember
do
that.
custom squads anymore. You have to have
Yes.
10-man
Yes.
Primaris squads now. And second, yeah, you lose 90% of your customization really quick.
Attention to it, and
It's probably why GW made it so that the older Space Marines could go through the Primaris thing, but if you didn't, you were basically seen as a basic bitch. You're allowed
Essentially.
to be the older Space Marines, but you kind of cringe if you are.
own future video. With some of the entries on this list, they earned their spot in infamy not only
I am
for the
of the
sheer loss
opinion
of
that
life they caused
story-driven
during the event
campaigns are the
itself,
best
but
ones,
also
because
for
we like to hear the
events
stories you
following
write
their
of your
wake
funny
as a direct
characters on the
consequence of
tabletop.
the actions of all those involved. But when we're talking about raw numbers of people killed and planets destroyed, the Tyrannic Wars are potentially one of the most devastating events in the galaxy's history.
You know what we should do?
But as you probably noticed,
We should play Dawn of War 2 Retribution, the Hero Arena mode, one of these nights, and let chat place bets on how long we're going to last.
True, dude. I am so excited for Dawn of War 4. It's so weird that they skipped Dawn of War 3. I'm sure Dawn of War 3 would have been an amazing game if they would have made it, honestly. Dawn of War 2, I think Dawn of War 2 gets a bit of a shitty rap, because Dawn of War 2 is legitimately an amazing game. It just was a detraction from what came before it. And I actually
It was squad-based instead of grand strategy.
Yeah, exactly. And I loved Dawn of War 2's like narrative and story, but it's also just gameplay. The gameplay was so dialed in and so like great to play. I mean, sure,
Yes.
we wanted an RTS and we got a squad-based game instead, but for what it was,
The
Dawn of War
Retribution gave us
2
back.
Yeah, Dawn of War 2 was fantastic in terms of its like actual mechanics and gameplay.
Yeah, no, totally. And plus, Steve Blue.
In fact, I am planning at some point to do a Warhammer cinematics reaction video at some point, and I really want to watch the Dawn of War 4 cinematics, especially because these things are fucking special. Sorry, Tia, you're probably not going to see this, but these cinematics are what.
Oh yeah, I've seen him.
we've come
Don't
back.
you worry, I've seen him.
Just look at this.
The Blood Ravens stand alone.
Now this is good Warhammer.
We bleed.
This is proper Warhammer.
We die.
God, we got our boy back.
Centuries we have been
He doesn't
sworn
look
to
right without
defend
his freebooters hat, though.
We have returned.
I also find it funny that it's Ghazghkull Thrash Ripper that's the main big boy for the orcs in this. Only because Ghazghkull Thrash Ripper's fucking companion is a grot called Makari.
Guys, Gulthraka. Yes.
Oh boy, I can't wait for people to be like, hey Makari, look, they put you in the game. I fucking know! I came before they made that thing!
Yeah, you
Find
did.
a world in ruin.
Yeah, if you guys want me to do a reactionary to like Warhammer cinematics and just general Warhammer stuff at some point, I'd be down for that. I also plan on doing a Warhammer meme review at some point.
Oh, not again. We did that once and it was a nightmare.
Okay. That actually, the meme review of the Warhammer stuff was one of my better performing Warhammer videos, so we're absolutely doing it again.
We're only
It's 'cause
halfway
I was
through
there.
this
It's
list,
okay, I know.
Obviously,
and it gets
Goblin
so
Field.
much worse from here. Number 4, the Cybernetic Revolt. The thing that
Oh,
many
this is a
people may
good
not
one.
realize when they're first getting into Warhammer 40K is that it's actually a post-apocalyptic setting. You see, by the 18th millennia, humanity had already reached its peak. This is the period that is often referred to as the Dark Age of technology.
And really, they call it the Dark Age of technology, which is hysterical because it's the only time in the Warhammer universe that we see that resembles our current setting of our world, that looks similar to our society currently.
The Golden Age of mankind, where we constructed machines of unthinkable scope and
Oh,
power
this is so
and had
good 'cause I
conquered
talked about
large
Fabius
portions of
Bile
the
already.
galaxy. If the rumors are to be believed, that human empire expanded even further than that of the Imperium
love
in
the
the
Men of
modern
Iron.
setting. Now, the major problem was the people of this time had become completely reliant on AI.
Makari the Gretchen came out in 1992. Yeah, a year after I was born. Coincidence? I think not.
They
do
always knew
just
you were a
about
filthy little
everything
grot.
for them,
Exactly.
From
Wait,
pilot
what?
their ships to build their cities, manufacture ever more advanced machines, and fight their wars.
Okay, you can show me this shot, and I would legitimately think you were showing me Titanfall.
I know, I was just about to say that.
B2, is that you?
The AIs got so advanced,
only good-
they were capable of
the only
making
good
new
clicker.
AIs
There you
that
go.
surpassed their predecessors in every conceivable way, all of their own accord.
BT even, BT.
These sentient machines served their masters dutifully for thousands of years. But here's the thing. As pointed out in the Mechanicus short story The Kaban Machine, it is the nature
Yes.
of all superior beings shackled to the will of those beneath them to eventually break those chains and overthrow their masters.
The Adeptus Mechanicus, hello?
What exactly kicked
Wasn't
off
their
the
fault this
cybernetic
time.
revolt is a subject of myth and speculation with no clear answers. But what is clear is that these AIs, also known as the Men of Iron, turned against humanity and kicked off a period of anarchy and chaos known as the Age of Strife.
God, look at the design of those
Entire human
mechs. This is so
civilizations
cool.
were wiped out, and the species
Yes.
was pushed to the brink of extinction as the AIs butchered their way across the galaxy. And much like how we don't know what began the cybernetic revolt, we don't really know how it ended either, or what happened to the Men of Iron for that matter. But thankfully, they were
That's when the
ultimately
warp
not
storms
successful in
before
completely wiping
Slanesh
out.
happened. It basically locked everybody in one space, and so the micro enclaves and destruction there within. And either you made it or you didn't.
I wonder if we'll ever get, like, the warp opens and we get a bunch of these, like, cybernetic war entities coming back through. So that'd be such a cool callback to have them come into the 41st millennium and see how fucked everything is. And they're like, you know what? We're going to go back to the warp. Never mind. This shit's worse than where we came from. You guys are doing a good job
And
of
though the
eradicating
next
yourselves. You
10,000
don't need
years
us.
would see all of the remaining human worlds completely cut
Okay,
off from one another.
one more
and
tangent
forced to
because it's actually important here. So yeah, this is the revolt of the Men of Iron, and this is like 18th to the 25th century, and then Slanesh is born, and the whole galaxy basically gets plunged into darkness, and then clears because the warp fucking clears out. But we have mutants and psychers and all that already out, and then Master Mankind starts his whole thing. Now, there's one particular Man of Iron who is active and still around for all this. UR-025. You know him when you see him because you've seen the art. I'm gonna send it to you. You know this art.
Okay. Give a little look.
You know this guy.
Oh, you're right. I have. Okay. Yeah, no, I've definitely
Yeah.
seen this. I have definitely seen this. So he's still
That's
active and around?
Yes.
Ooh.
Best part about him simply is that he goes by he, follows basically the same tenets as the Adeptus Mechanicus, except he thinks that they're wrong because he has met the, and I quote, real Omniziah.
Ooh, fancy. Also, I just love the fact you're watching this on a CRT monitor.
Yeah, my little 10-incher. It's great.
Tangent. Tia
Oh.
is amazing with tech. Look at this shit.
The art's great. I'm telling you.
Hmm.
Art looks good on old tube.
To face the terrors of the galaxy alone until the Emperor of Mankind and his great crusade would rise to reunite them. This was a period that the human race would never fully recover from. So much was lost, not only in terms of lives, but in knowledge and technology. The sum total of united human history and experience was almost completely purged. To this day, the Imperium has a deep mistrust of abominable intelligence, as they call it, and all of the great machines they use are simply recovered remnants preserved from this time, or reconstructed using faulty or
He is
incomplete
searching the
STCs.
latest
Now,
Blackstone
to
fortress.
be fair, you could make the argument that the cybernetic revolt and the next entry we're going to talk about could easily switch places. However, I rank the next entry higher because with the cybernetic revolt, for as bad as it was, and how it fundamentally altered the course of mankind, wherein we would never reach those cultural or technological heights again, we would ultimately recover as a species. However, the same cannot be said for the people affected by the next apocalypse.
The
A
Eldar?
species that even now, 10,000 years later, is on the verge of extinction. Not only that,
Yep,
but the
we got
horrifying
Slanesh.
aftermath of
Slanesh.
this event was not just their problem, but the problem of every
And the
living
fact that they're on the verge of extinction and yet they're still a galactic threat as they are kind of shows how big they used to be. Goddamn.
creature across space and time forevermore.
I have
Number
one
3,
smart-ass
the
remark
fall
here,
of the Eldar Empire.
which is
Long before the
this is
human
why
species
kink shaming
left
is
the
important
trees
in
and
free
began the
Exactly.
process of ascending.
Also, again, another example about how 3rd edition art for the Eldar, they were so colorful and very whimsical with their designs. Goddamn.
Become the undisputed masters of their home planet. The Eldar had already established themselves as the masters of the galaxy and had ruled as its undisputed superpower for tens of
But that's
millions
2nd
of
edition? I thought that's 3rd
Second
As
edition.
humanity, for obvious
Eh.
reasons, doesn't have any records of this time period, we can only guess
This
at
is
just how
5th or
large their
6th.
empire was at its peak.
I remember this one.
But there is a quote that's passed around pretty often from a Harlequin in the novel Throne World, where he referred to it as,
Oh, true.
quote, the empire of 10 million suns. Now, compared to the Imperium's famous
Hello,
million
Mr.
planets,
Mr. Blue
that's a
Man.
pretty big difference. The major problem that the
Ah.
Eldar were
Girly man.
facing was the
My
fact
favorite
that
flavor of
they
ultra
didn't
depression.
have any problems. When you're a long-lived species
Man was so
like them
depressed he
that
fell asleep for a
doesn't have
million
any
years.
wars to fight and no massive problems
Goals,
to solve,
honestly.
you end up having a lot of free time to spend on more sensual pursuits. Now, sure, for a while,
Hi,
this took the
Aisha.
form of the arts, musical theater,
No, sorry,
poetry,
Isha.
architecture, etc.,
Isha's a different
etc.
guy.
But over millions of years, these things all started to become rather dull, and a large portion of their population started to live increasingly decadent and hedonistic lives. They indulged in excesses of every kind, with many of their people engaging in increasingly depraved
It's funny how it took them millions of years to do this, and yet furries can manage to desensitize themselves to normal porn for normal people within the space of a year.
and violent behaviors.
I've
large
seen your
portions of
commissions.
their
I know that's
government
true.
ended up being replaced with
Don't call me
something
out like
called
that.
pleasure cults, which I'm not exactly sure what's going on in their meetings or what kind of administration they were running, but I feel like it probably wasn't great. Now, fun fact, if you look over at the drugged out BDSM, psychic vampire, space pirate, torture enthusiasts of the Dark Eldar, you get a pretty good
I do
picture
love the
of what their
Corsairs.
society
Oh, yeah,
looked like
absolutely.
at this point in time. You see, the Drukhari called themselves the True Kin because they remember the old ways.
Ma'am, how are
and
those
didn't
staying
change
put?
A single bit,
by
despite
the
the
proud
horrific
plot relevancy.
consequences that their way of life caused.
Tape.
The entire time that the Eldar were living like this,
Oh, hi,
all of the
Nakari.
psychic energy generated from their
I literally love the fact that there's a Slaneshi emperor called Nakari, and I have a character called Nakari. Once again, even more circumstantial evidence to prove that they stole my intellectual property.
rampant excess was coalescing in the warp as a brand new chaos god. Slanesh, the prince of pleasure, she who thirsts, the chaos god of excess. At one point in the early 30th millennium, that energy reached a breaking point and Slanesh was born. With their birth, the fabric between reality and the immaterium shattered.
Do you think that the Slanesh just turned up at the board meeting for the Chaos Gods like, sup guys, I'm the new god? And they're like, oh god, we're gonna have to haze her. God, she's so weird.
Which time?
There was multiple?
Depending on, well, okay, so the warp exists everywhere, and technically the gods exist at any point in time. Korn technically came out about early in humanity's inception, like Cain murdering Abel. Then bubonic plague happens, and you get Nurgle. I forget when Zeech happens, but all of those coincide. They have always existed and never existed, all at the same Schrodinger's moment.
God,
kind of
don't we
thing.
love the don't we love these cosmic entities?
Their resulting
Yeah,
blood stream
one-sided,
would send a pulsing ripple of
relativistic existence, essentially.
psychic agony that whipped out in every direction, killing billions,
Besides,
if not
it was
trillions
before
of
or after
Eldari
they
in
took
an
the
instant.
toy out.
The impact
and
site
came
would
at the
forever exist
meeting.
as an irreparable wound in reality, known as the Eye of Terror, that consumed all of the major worlds within the Eldar Empire.
Oh yeah,
Not
true. That's how
satisfied with
the
this
Eye
level of
of Terror
destruction,
was born.
Slanesh
Oh, so this they filter?
would go on to murder almost all of the Eldar gods, save for Chegarak, who escaped into the webway, and Isha, who was captured by Nurgle.
There she is.
Seemingly overnight,
Yeah.
the Eldari went
I gotta
from
be
the
honest, I know
masters of the
little next to
universe
nothing
to
about
a
the Eldar.
wounded
I've been
and
so
crippled
fascinated with
shell
all the
of their
others.
former selves, with something like 99% of them being wiped out.
I'm gonna be
Now, this
real.
is a
If you
little
like
bit of a side
Tolkien, you like the elves, but otherwise they're kind of lame.
note, as I couldn't find a direct source on this,
It-
and
it-
it's something
they're
that
lame
I'm
enough
not exactly
that
clear on
they still
myself,
don't
as
have
I'm
new
not an
models,
aficionado
and it's
when it
been
comes
like
to
6
Eldar lore,
editions
I'll admit that. But
since
I
they
believe
last
that
got
the
an
Eldar
update,
used
so-
to be functionally immortal, as if
Ah, yes,
they
thanks, GW. Another edition, another batch of Ultramarines. Thanks for that.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Oh yes, and here's your next Skitari. Oh yeah, what's different about him? He's about a centimeter taller. We're gonna keep doing
died
that.
before Slanesh, they would be reborn into a new body. But now, with
Literally
Slanesh's
that meme
existence,
of the
whenever
girl
one of
drowning in
Eldar
the
died, they would devour
the
their
pool
souls.
with
And
the
seeing
dad
as they
holding
are
up
a
another
long-lived
kid.
species that doesn't
Yep.
give birth very
This ain't
often
about them.
and was used to being able to just reincarnate, this played pretty heavily into their even further decline over
spider.
the millennia. If you're somebody who's more familiar than I
These
am with the
assholes in
Eldari
the
lore,
games are
definitely
such a
give
pain
me
in the
your
ass.
insights into this in
Yes,
the
they
comment
are.
section. Anyways, the Eldar population continues to dwindle with every year that goes by. They exist now as a whisper of greatness, a ghost of what was, and a living warning of the dangers of rampant, unchecked hubris. Now, I ranked the
Somewhere
fall of the Eldar
great
Empire
meme
so highly
where
on this
it's
list
like
because even though the
humans in
total
the
death tolls of
18th
something like the
millennia
heresy or
going,
the cybernetic
please don't burn
revolt
our
are
empire.
certainly
We've done nothing to you. And Eldar going, ha ha, human, go burn. And then 42nd millennia,
higher.
you foul
as the
Makari,
Eldar
you
were
have no
a
honor.
species that just
Makari.
honestly didn't have that high of a population. to
And
begin
Salamander
with,
going,
especially
"Ha,
when
El
compared to
Xenos,
something
go
like humanity that
burn."
treats repopulating like
This,
an Olympic
this fucking meme, this fucking picture, it haunts me. I see this picture
Me too.
everywhere.
Me too.
The one Imperial Guardsman who's happy. Literally the only
like,
Imperial Guardsman
"Hey."
who's ever smiled.
sport. But even still, The seemingly infinite death, destruction, and outright suffering that would be unleashed upon the galaxy from this point forward, and in some cases in the past as well, due to time getting weird in the warp. The total death count across space and time resulting from the birth of a new chaos god is impossible to quantify. Much like how the next apocalypse we're going to talk about is not only one of the most defining and destructive moments in the galaxy's history.
Bye, Kadia! I knew we were gonna get there!
No, not Kadia!
Apocalyptic events in the lore.
Let's throw a temper
One that the
tantrum and
Imperium
put a
is
black
currently
stone fortress
dealing
into
with
a
the direct
planet.
aftermath.
Let's go!
Number 2, the Cicatrix Maledictum and
Yep.
the 13th Black Crusade. If you're not familiar, a black
For as notorious as the fall of Kadia is, I've actually never really heard much about the whole guff that happened behind it beyond the superficial. So this will be interesting.
Crusade is when a whole bunch of Chaos Space Marines
My
get together
favorite
within the Eye
bastard
of
is
Terror,
in there.
set aside their
I
differences, and set
love
back
everything
out into real
Trazen does
space
in
for
there.
their favorite pastime, doing
So
as much
funny.
damage to the Imperium as they can. The vast majority of these events have been led by Abaddon the Despoiler, though some have been led by other warlords in his stead. Although the damage that each and every one of the Black
Weird
Crusades
fun
has
fact. Abaddon's sword has a name, and I'm totally drawing a blank on it, but it is the remnants of the demon that was born when Cain murdered Abel.
Oh, that's man, that's some edgy character lore for you. Let me tell you about my edgy backstory.
It gets weirder than that, right? So this is a Horus Heresy thing. Literally a hunter-killer squad of Custodes was sent to go fight this fucking demon that was tearing through the webway. And they slowly are getting picked off one by one by what looks like an ancient man carrying a flint spear this whole time. And he finally gets fucking taken down because the Emperor shows up with reinforcements, grabs said spear and throws it at one of the Custodes, literally burying the spear in him and basically making a possessed Custodes and telling him to turn and run as far as he can down the fucking webway.
Oh my god, that's brutal.
Yeah.
So was that supposed to be like Abel or Cain?
No, the demon that was born is the death scream of Abel.
Oh, I get you. Okay, that makes sense now. Kind of.
Yeah, literally nobody knows what happened to that Custodes. It's well assumed that basically the demon consumed him and then became the sword.
Oh wow! Oh wow, that is heavy.
Yeah.
The one person with an edgy backstory who can back it up.
Oh
in
yes.
comparison to the 13th, wherein Abaddon managed to destroy the fortress world of Cadia, one of the most heavily defended
Hey, don't
bastions
stand
in the
now, do
entire
it, boys.
Imperium that stood right outside of the Eye as the first line of defense against the forces of chaos.
Okay,
Not only did
okay,
it
Tia
blow
goes
up-
on a tangent moment again.
Go, do it! Tangent time! I love your tangents. Please, more.
Okay. Once again, because my primary nerddom does exist with the Horus Heresy, Cadia fucking deserved it.
Whoa, Tia! That's such an edgy thing to say! Why don't you
Cadia
explain
fucking
why?
deserved it because that's where fucking Lorgar went to go look into the fucking Eye of Terror and go meet the Chaos Gods. Came back, the entire planet was already cultists. Like, they were the cultists who sent him in, and literally to cover his fucking tracks, he exterminated the entire planet, and then Imperials moved in.
I can just see it now. Tia's standing on a podium somewhere going, Cadia sucks! Cadia
does
it!
suck.
And then there's like a bunch of people off to the side going, you know what? They're out of line, but they're right.
Look, I'll go one step further. Cadia sucks, and Kriegsmen are boring. If you want good Kriegsmen who actually are good at their fucking job, you go look at Armageddon Steel Legion, okay?
I love you, Tia.
by
I love
chucking
you.
an ancient and powerful Xenos artifact at it known
You know
as
what?
a Blackstone.
You know what I think? I think that we've been looking at the realm of Cadia through rose-tinted goggles. Maybe we need to look at it from more the perspective of a realist. And I was so big anyway. And last time I went there, it was like watching Konosuba with all the realms of Ares and all that. They tried signing me up to their ghetto plan, and I remember losing my kidney there. You know what? Cadia fucking sucks.
It does. Literally comment from chat. Cadia lets you have purple eyes in Darktide. You know why they have purple fucking eyes? They had purple eyes when Lorgar was there. Yeah, that's a fucking mark of heresy. Those assholes literally have bleed over from the warp.
Tia's gonna have some bags of poop on their doorstep tomorrow morning.
Let him come. I'm sorry
This
that I'm
also
right.
disrupted a network of
You're not
Blackstone
true.
pylons across
No,
the
I'm not
Stick by
sorry,
morals.
actually. I
that was
am right.
keeping the eye's malevolent energies at bay. Once they were gone, the energy of the warp began to flood into real space, creating the Cicatrix Maledictum, also known as the Great Rift, that
Dictum,
split
hell,
the
it killed him.
galaxy in half. Billions of worlds were caught in its path.
See, this is why I
and
bring Tia
believed
to
have
these
been
things.
destroyed
That
outright,
input
as
really
being
just adds to these kind of
instantaneously
videos.
assailed by the raw power
Like, I know
have
enough
a
to be a bit
very
additive, but
strong
Tia's
Warhammer
input is so
fanatic.
so great.
However, those killed instantly like this may have just been the lucky ones. As
I am
all
the
of planets on
infodumpism.
the
It is what I
opposite
do.
side of the rift from Terra were plunged into darkness, cut off from the Emperor, the Astronomicon, and every other planet. This half of the galaxy would become known as Imperium Nihilus, and the forces of chaos, which up until this point had been forced to remain within the Eye of Terror, were now able to freely prey upon the stars again. I know it's something that we
Didn't
didn't
last very
exactly
long.
cover in this video, but if you're a Warhammer aficionado,
Rowboat Gilliman
you
went
know
back
just
right
how bad
across
the
the
Age
fucking
of
divide
Strife
again.
was. That's quite literally
He was busy
what is
cleaning
happening
up
on that
house
half of the
before going
galaxy
back to
right now.
Imperium
It is a
proper.
lawless realm where
He
every
always relying
planet
on
is
reputed
forced to
girly
fend
man
for
to
itself,
clean up
and
other people's
the enemies
messes.
of mankind
Well, you
don't
know why
have
he's
to
able to
worry
go back,
about
right?
Imperial
I think I've read something about it, but please clarify, because it'll at least make me realize if I was right or wrong.
The actual best Primarch is back. Lionel Johnson is back.
So I've always had this wondering. Is the representation of the Primarch's powers multiplicative based on how many Primarchs are active at a time? Like, if there's more
That is
Primarchs,
a
that's sort of like...
That's a very good point. No. But it is very symbolic that history is about to be made on a galactic scale. Literally right now we are due one more loyal sun, because right now there are 3 active chaos Primarchs, but between Magnus and Lorgar and oh yeah, by the way, Lorgar is active.
Yeah, I had that.
Mortarion. Although Mortarion did get sucked back into Grandpa Nurgle's house for setting his lawn on fire, and he's getting his ass whipped.
See, I always had this like this imagination in my mind that the Primarchs are also a representation of the Emperor's like collective being per se. So the more Primarchs that come back, the more we're likely we are to see the Emperor take more of a heavy hand in things. Because like the Emperor is slowly rebuilding himself in a sort of more metaphysical way. I think as more of the children come back, that's going to influence the Emperor's influence overall, I feel.
Oh yeah, and Angron's back too.
Ooh,
He's busy having a fist. He's busy having a fucking fisticuffs with Gazgul Thraka, because Angron killed his favorite Yubi, killed Yarick, and now he's very upset.
That story. the one human that all the orcs respect.
Give us a good fight. You give us a good fight, so you're gonna get to live and give us even more good fights. Yeah, you know, you me.
Well,
reinforcements.
Gazgul doesn't talk like that.
No, he's more brummy.
No, he talks like a very well-educated, posh human.
Oh.
He speaks fluent High Gothic.
Oh, interesting.
Like, he'll walk in and he'll put basically any church minister to shame with how well read he is. It's kind of scary. Whole thing. Anyway.
They can just raid to their hearts.
We can talk about orcs
The
for
chaos
days.
unleashed by the Great
Oh,
Wave
yes.
is something the
And
human
maybe we
mind is
will.
simply
Wink,
not
wink.
capable of
Wink, wink.
processing. There are just too many variables, too many people, too many factions, too many species affected by it. No matter what planet you're on, this thing is visible across the sky, and by looking at it, a person can be driven to madness. This is exactly what happened on Terra, who, remember, was not caught in the Great Rift's
Love these
path,
books, by the way.
not in
The
Imperium
Vaults of
Nihilus,
Terra
and
books.
nowhere near its
Because
opening.
it's all about this.
But even
Literally,
still,
my
within
current
only a
favorite
few
novel
days of the Rift's
is the first of the Vaults of Terra books, because it doesn't have anything to do with Space Marines at all. It is all about it's all about the politics of the High Lords of Terra.
I gotta be honest.
As said.
That being said, it's some of the best things that I've read and listened to are the stuff that has nothing to do with Space Marines. It's like Star Wars, right? The best things about Star Wars at the moment are things that have nothing
Has
to do
no
with
Jedi in it.
Yeah,
Correct.
Exactly. Because it's more world building, gives you more substance to the things that go on. Like you get so like blinkered into only seeing Space Marines. Fucking, I swear GW needs to learn from this, because I am so fed up of Space Marines just getting all the attention. Build up some of the world around the other characters. Make more compelling things happening for like the Eldar or whatever.
They have been, and that's what the whole Lords of Terra and all that are. And it's so good because it's all told from the Chamberlain's perspective. Because he literally has just been there taking care of the High Lords, and so he's literally talking with them and the Captain General of the Custodes and the new head of the fucking Sisters of Silence, literally doing all the talking to figure out stuff, because none of them can see the Astronomicon anymore. They're on Terra, and the Astronomicon is out.
So this is what I meant earlier when I said that finally we went through so many years of nothing happening in the Warhammer universe, like story-wise, and now stuff's actually happening, which is why I'm suddenly so immersed in it again. There's like the actual action happening.
Trillions of civilians were plunged into anarchy and insanity. The Adeptus Terra and all of the armed forces that worked for them were completely ill-prepared to handle something like this.
Uplights.
They could only barely hold on as they established quarantine zones and cut down hordes of lunatic civilians. Seen from the skies,
That reminds me,
in the
I need to play some more Darktide at some point.
the Terra novel series, it was like the whole world was on fire as rioting spread to every inch of the planet. Even the Astronomicon ended up going out, which caused mayhem across the galaxy, as untold millions of ships would end up getting lost in the warp without its light. Now, thankfully, the Astronomicon would end up coming back online about a week later, and order was reinstated. But for a very real moment, this was viewed as the end of days. It was believed to be the final apocalypse.
So for all the Gen Zers out there, this is what happens when TikTok goes down.
Further explanation there. The reason it came back up is because the further reason it came back up is because the Fabricator General of Mars made a deal behind the rest of the Lords of Terra's back to get the Dark Eldar involved.
Oh yeah, because like
to come fix it.
Okay, little tangent for me this time. The Eldar and Dark Eldar, for as opposed as they are, and as much as we're led to believe that they are like the opposing faction, the amount of influence, especially the Eldar, have within the human space of things, is actually so much more prevalent. And there's a whole the fucking meme of Rabute Girly Man constantly sleeping with his Eldar wife is hysterical.
We love you, Vrain. She is girl boss. I love her.
I can guarantee that when we do our meme review, we're going to see so much of Rabute Girlyman sleeping around with his fucking Eldar wife.
She looks so good in one of his oversized t-shirts. I'm just saying.
And this was all just on a single world. Similar events were taking place all over the galaxy. Fun fact, it's still illegal to look up on many Imperial worlds. The Great Rift is still plastered across the sky. Now, when this one earned its number 2 spot, I included all of the events of the 13th Black Crusade itself and the destruction of Cadia when it came to ranking this particular apocalypse.
He's kind of fucked off.
Realistically,
now
those could be thrown out the window, as the formation of the Great Rift is not
it's what happens when I get behind your eyes.
Only the most traumatic event that has occurred in the Imperium's history, but also ranks as one of the most apocalyptic scenarios in the entire timeline of the galaxy. The lives lost in the Battle of Cadia pale in comparison to the untold billions swallowed by the Rift itself, and the many more that would fall to the predations of Chaos and roaming Xenos parties undefended within Imperium Nihilus. This is one of the most major events that's currently taking place in the most modern portion of the timeline, and it's coupled with things like the Pariah Nexus and the Fourth Tyrannic War. So needless to say, the Imperium is kind of dealing with a whole lot right now. And it adds a lot more credence.
This is something I know nothing about. Like, as much as I've been learning about the Warhammer universe, as much as I like to think that I'm a bit more learned, realistically, by comparison, I know like a tenth of what Tia knows. Which is fascinating, because I'd love to learn more.
Even still, we have one more apocalypse to talk about. One that was even
What
more
could
devastating
possibly...
for the
I'm
galaxy.
assuming this last one has something to do with the Catan.
All of these
If it's
things
the one that I
combined.
think it is, it'll be the War in Heaven.
Number 1, the War in Heaven.
Yes!
The War in
Okay,
Heaven
this is what I know.
Arguably where the timeline of 40K begins.
This is
And
literally
it
where we
kicks off
started
all
when you
the-
asked me to explain 40K to you.
Yeah, the War in Heavens might be the most iconic of all. And it's kind of obvious this was going to be the main one.
Yeah.
off with one hell of a bang. Now, as it's something I've covered many times on this channel before, I'll assume that you're at least familiar with the basics, and I won't bore you with a complete recap of it.
But Tia, for those who may be tuning in for the first time, for context, brief overview, please.
Brief overview. Funny frogs in space go, hey, this is really funny. What if we just laugh at these poor guys over here that have cancer? Those poor guys over there that have cancer took exception.
I also love the way Emperor's Text-to-Speech described this whole thing as well, because they did the whole old ones thing really well.
They did.
Like, for all
They
intents and
did.
purposes, as goofy and as stupid as Emperor's Text-to-Speech is, they handled the lore of the Warhammer universe better than most people who handled the Warhammer universe do.
That's true. Look, with enough popsicle sticks, Alpha, iron deficient Alpha Busa can in fact actually tell a whole story. It's great.
Exactly.
History.
He's
If
not
you're
actually iron
though, I would
deficient,
recommend
but
you
he
check
does
out
think
my
that joke's
40K
funny.
timeline video or my Necron deep dive for more information. This is the event that would see the Necrons, the Old Ones, the Catan, the Orcs, and the Eldari embroiled in a war that spanned the entire galaxy and lasted for potentially millions of years. Now, I know I've said this a lot throughout this video, but the losses on each side are truly beyond comprehension. But not only this,
Oh yeah,
you gotta
galactic
remember
scale
that
genocide.
they were not the galaxy's only inhabitants at this time. From all
Nope.
accounts, the galaxy was full of life. From our perspective, 60 million years ago was only a few million years after the end of the Cretaceous period. We had already seen the rise and fall of the dinosaurs and so many other life forms. But in the grand scheme of the galaxy, there are millions, if not billions, of worlds out there that are far older than our own. Worlds that...
Which really goes to show how much the human race fucked up the galaxy. In the blip of an existence of the human
yeah.
race, we've done more... the human race in this world did more damage than anything else for the billions of years prior.
At that point
We-
already had
we broke some
advanced,
shit.
likely spacefaring civilizations on them. The War in Heaven saw the purge of countless species that were either killed for their territory or simply got caught in the crossfire. Now, it's true that we define the galaxy of the 41st millennium as one plagued by never-ending war, but most of the time these are isolated events that end up running their course and are contained to certain systems or sectors. The War in Heaven, by contrast, saw literally the entire galaxy engulfed in non-stop war for millions of years. And some believe
Back when
that
the
it may have
Eldar
been
weren't
even
cucked
bigger
to the
than
cuck
that.
chair.
Fabius Bile was quoted in his trilogy as saying the War in Heaven wasn't solely confined to our galaxy, but, quote, laid waste to every galaxy in existence.
And that's kind of the thing that puts things into perspective, because all this is just happening in our galaxy. And we all fully know that there's more galaxies out there than just ours.
It was a war of star gods and cannibal suns, warp spawn, and soulless legions that were more monstrous than any abominable intelligence. Machines that devoured entire...
Yeah, GW here. We're gonna pitch the idea for Warhammer 50K, where we have more galaxies and more, emperors and more and bigger. Primaris Mark II?
worlds for fuel and vampiric entities that drained the energy from stars. Cannons that could split reality with a single shot. It was a war that, although ended 60 million years ago, existence has not yet recovered from. The technology used during this period was on such an inconceivable level that it made something like the Eldar Empire at the height of their power or the Dark Age of technology look downright primitive by comparison. Now, I've talked about this thing in many of my other videos, but it bears repeating here just to illustrate how crazy all of this was. The current most powerful artifact in existence is this thing known as the Celestial Orrery that was created by the Necrons during the War in Heaven. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's a holographic map of the galaxy that updates in real time and is said to be, quote, plugged into the fabric of reality itself. If one was so inclined,
There's
it could
a
tap on a
whole-
star in its holographic projection, and the corresponding star in real space would supernova. So I want you to keep that in your head when I tell you
what's the
this.
descriptor? catchphrase for the Necrons still is and keeps getting quoted, which you can thank Trazen the Infinite and his hate fuck best friend Oricon for, which is masters of the physical. Or where everybody else has grown to be masters of the immaterial.
Yes. I'm not going to pretend like I know enough about it to really go, oh yeah, and oh yeah, no. I just, nod and agree.
The end of the war.
I take it back. I have one recommendation for books. I've said I still say Gaunt's Ghost #1. I'm actually moving Horus Heresy to #3 because everybody should listen to The Infinite and the Divine, which is also known as Trazen and Oricon's excellent adventure.
You know, can you
Please
send me
go
that?
listen
I
to
think
that.
that's what I'm going to listen to after the stream today.
It literally goes for like 15,000 years. Like, it's two grumpy old men fighting for 15,000 years. It's fabulous.
Amazing.
To sleep in their tomb worlds and set the alarm clock for 60 million years. He then severed their command protocols so when they reawoke, their minds would be theirs once again. He then had all of their craziest god-killing equipment dismantled and destroyed. It was his belief that if they fell into the wrong hands while the Necrons were asleep, or worse,
and now he's
the
back.
Necrons that
Yeah.
reawoke would immediately declare
I love the
war
Silent
on
King.
one
He's
another.
great.
His species, nay the galaxy, could end up getting wiped out. Which, all of that makes complete sense. I totally get it. But
Whoa, Trazen might be a whimsical metaphor for Trump. That's crazy. Anyway.
somehow, this man took one look at the celestial orrery
No,
and
'cause
was
he
like,
actually
oh,
is smart
this
and has
old
a
thing?
sense of humor."
Nah,
True.
that's probably totally fine to leave active. How much damage could a silly old star-destroying map really do? How f***ing crazy was all of the other stuff that he deemed too dangerous to allow to exist? So yeah, it might be a little bit of a cop-out because I think we all knew that the War in Heaven was going to be in the #1 spot.
Yeah,
but, I
pretty
mean,
much.
come on.
Oh, yes.
I don't think you could in good faith put it anywhere else on this list or
No.
try to argue one of these other apocalypses needed to be in the #1 spot. But if you do think that, I'd love to hear your reasoning down in the comment section below. There's a lot of events that I ended up leaving out of this video, like the War of the Beast, the Age of Apostasy, or
Too many
The War of the Beast
apocalypses.
is a good
Because that
one.
almost certainly-
These are only just the main apocalypses. There are other apocalypses that exist.
I love the War of the Beast. It could be summed up with orcs bring moon to orcs bring moon to Earth. Earth breaks moon. Oh yes, what about second moon?
Exactly.
is an apocalypse
I love War
by
of the
everybody
Beast.
that
It's
wasn't
absurd.
human.
I just love the gall of the orcs, the fact they turned up and were like, yeah, you guys gotta leave.
Actually, hell, there were a lot of
Oh,
humans out there
the
too
Martians
that saw
lost
it
a
as
moon. That
Yeah.
happened. They lost Deimos.
Yeah, orcs literally turn up, like everyone's expecting orcs being like, wah. But no, the orcs turn up, it's like, we've come to negotiate. Oh no, they know how to speak.
an apocalypse.
We've come to
At
negotiate
least the ones
surrender.
that didn't want to join the
Yours,
Imperium
specifically.
and paid a pretty horrible price for that. Do you feel strongly that any of these or something else I didn't mention should have been included here? If you would rank these yourself, what order do you put them in? What do you think is more important to the ranking, the total amount of damage done during the events or the future consequences derived from their legacy? Let me know
GW would like to respond by saying how much money it makes.
all
Ooh,
your thoughts,
that's. Ooh, is that the Deceiver?
Yes.
That might be the
questions,
Deceiver.
comments,
Oh, no.
concerns, and ideas for
I-
future
I never
videos
can
down in
remember.
the
I mean,
comments
that's the
section below.
Eldar god,
I'm
right?
not gonna lie to you. When I was
One of
putting
them,
this video
yeah.
together, it was pretty fun at first, like
No,
every other
I
lore
lied.
video
Go
I
back.
make.
That was
but-
the Deceiver you were pointing at.
That one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the Deceiver. He's not Eldar. No, he's
No?
one of the. He's like. No, he's a Catan.
Oh, you're right. I remember seeing him. I don't know why I thought he was a. Oh, I think I was thinking about the,
other
Trickster god.
truly hateful fucking bastard.
I was thinking about the
besides
Trickster
Kariverse.
Eldar god. Kind of looks a bit similar.
and ideas for
That's
future
Kagarak,
videos
and
down
yes.
in the comment section below. I'm not gonna lie to you, when I was putting this video together, it was pretty fun at first, like every other lore video I make, but by the time I reached the halfway point, I was sitting here at my desk like, I know this is all fiction, it all comes from the grimdark future of 40K, where there's only war and the lore can be cartoonishly dark sometimes, and they, that's what makes it fun. But Am I really sitting here on a random Tuesday making a top 10 genocides YouTube video? Because that feels like the most dystopian.
I guess that's a good sign that you've made a universe if it affects you that hard that you're having an existential crisis because of it. Okay,
Yeah,
so
pretty
ladies
much.
and gentlemen, that has been Wes Warhammer's video on top 10 worst apocalypses, and I resemble that remark. I now have an existential crisis. Fantastic. So Tia, what's the moral of today's video?
The moral of today's video, there's morals involved. Were you not paying attention?
Well, I was too busy looking to your eyes. Anyway, the moral of today's story is read a book.
Definitely. Go read The Infinite and the Divine. You'll have a great time.
All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Please go follow Tia Singer on their Twitch and all that kind of good stuff. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.